Good evening, TNT family. We are fortunate to have another member of the UNC with us here tonight, and we have our legal advisor, Mr. Brian Baig, and I appreciate him taking the time to join us and to kind of enlighten us of what's taking place in the country and his perspective on things. So, Brian, I would like you to take some time to just kind of introduce yourself, give us a little enlightenment on your background and what you're involved with.
Okay, well, pleasant good night to you, Gary, and to all your viewers and listeners. Let me say thank you very much for having me. I think it's my first time being on your show in the form of being a guest. I've listened to when you've had our chairman of the party and MP for Urupuch West, Dave Tanku. So when you had MP Rudinder Singh. So it's a pleasure. Yes, I am the legal officer of the National Executive. I have served on the National Executive prior. I was once the education officer as well as the Northeast Regional Coordinator. I have served in between 2010 and 2015. Well, let me just say I'm a life member of the United National Congress. I'm a proud member of the United to be a member of the UNC. Um, I have in my early stages of the party, I was in the national youth arm of the party. I was the public relations officer. I have served in so many ways of this party. From the youth arm days, I was in the St. Joseph constituency. I was at the level of the vice chairman. I have been, have been so many things. And I between 2010 and 2015, during the People's Partnership with the United National Congress through Kamala Prasad Bisesa, senior counsel, was prime minister, I would have been at the Seafood Industry Development Company. In 2013, I became chairman of that state enterprise up until 2017. I worked at the AG's office for some years. I was proud. I will always say I was proud to be part of the AG's office with then Attorney General Anna Ramlogan, senior counsel, one of my mentors in law. He was one of the few persons that made me want to become a lawyer, and it was an honor to work with him. She's such a great legal mind. I am currently in private practice. I have served in the Senate temporary for many times under the UNC for Kamala Prasad Visesa. In 2008 was actually my first time ever entering into the parliament under then leader Mr. Pandey, and then many occasions under Mrs. Bisesa. I've had the honor of working very close with Mrs. Bisesa um, on many things. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, I have to say, is a brilliant legal mind as well. The leader of the UNC, Mrs. Kamala Prasad, is a senior counsel. Is a lady I always tell people if they get to see the Kamala that we see and work with, they would want everybody in this country would want her as prime minister every day. And she works tirelessly. She works hard, and she is going to become the next prime minister of this country. And I can't wait for when the next general election is to be called. This woman works non-stop. She works more than us, and I'm always a pleasure to work with her. And I'm always assisting with the party. I do a lot of training sessions for a lot of our election day machinery, and we are really building well on that because we are getting ready, and we are going to be ready for the next general election, either before 2025 or in 2025. And we have a great team. We have a great national executive, a very hardworking national executive, I must say, with persons like our deputy leaders, Ms. Jolene John, Dr. David Lee, Dr. Rudal Munilal. We have Dave Tank, who works exceptionally well. We have Khadija Amin, who works night and day. She also works and helps our councillors a lot. As you know, she is also our shadow local government minister. We have a hard party organized, hard working party organizer, MP Barry Padara, we have a very, very vibrant regional coordinators from South, Shanti Budram, Central. We have Ms. Vandana Mohit, Eli Zakur's in the Northwest. He does a lot of work. And Khadija Amin, I have to say it again, who works tirelessly. And I'm happy to be part of that team, along with other MPs like Saddam Hussein, who's also on the national executive. So when people think that the UNC is not working, we are. And we're working tirelessly every day. Just doing this shows that we are working as well. Because we're coming to tell you the nation about us and about how the party is operating. So I hope that's a good introduction to come in with.
Definitely, Brian. It is very important that we educate the people, continue to educate them and bring the information in real time towards them. Telling them is one thing, but sometimes good to really, show what's really happening. So I want to encourage us to do a little more in bringing the reality of things as it happens on the ground.
I do apologize if you saw me come off. I'm using my phone and being an active attorney, I just got a call. So that could have been a call.
Yeah. So it's okay. That's all understood. Listen, this
Yeah,
is
apologies.
our station. It's to our convenience. This is so don't feel bad about it. Yeah. So I want for us to keep in the forefront of educating our people. Bringing the information in real time. Making use of all the social media platforms. To continue to educate our people. No. I'm outside the country, and I want to to for you to give us an enlightenment of what you see that's happening. I was able to see a few sessions of the Parliament with the Standing Financial Committee, and I was wondering if you can give us a little explanation of what you saw down there.
But,
Also, we have Dr. Veer Ramlal with us, and Dr. Ramal, you feel free to jump in as you see fit.
but the Standing Finance
Sure,
Committee,
thank you.
which is the financial committee of the Parliament, where basically when the budget debate is over, you must remember there's the budget, and then there's a debate in the budget. Now, when the budget is finished with the debate, then it goes straight into the Standing Finance Committee, wherein which all the allocations that has been put forward for every ministry, they, that committee then, the opposition members, that committee is used by the opposition members to basically scrutinize the monies that has been put forward. Example, Office of the Prime Minister. The entertainment budget was $50 million. I'm open to be corrected. And they would ask, what is this reason? What is this for? Um, in health, there were many monies spent, and some of that crossed over into hundreds of thousands, millions. The Minister of Health would then be questioned. What were these monies going to be used for? Example, you would see that there's an allocation for fees. Now, there is no breakdown as to what the fees are for. So you will ask the minister, what are these fees for? Are they, and you also get that time to ask, are these fees also for legal fees? If any legal action was taken, was these fees used to pay off a settlement or to pay attorneys, and how many attorneys was paid? If you understand where I'm coming from. So the Standing Finance Committee is the, let's just say, that is the committee for the opposition to hold the government to account as to what these monies are really meant for. And then the Standing Finance Committee came to an end yesterday. So the Parliament has been adjourned to a date to be set, where when that date is given, they will come back to the Parliament to debate whichever bill is brought before the Parliament. So I hope that helped to explain
Yes,
what.
I love the ending of the parliament, a little session that took place there with Mr. Stuart Young. But we're going to get into that. What my observation is, I observe a lot of money in the various ministries. Money was allocated. There is positions to be filled, and the positions didn't get filled. And my concern is, um, the bureaucracy involved there. Why is it such a delay? Because number one, if you're operating with a less amount of staff, and then you are shortchanging the citizen on the level of service delivery. So
Yeah.
I don't see, and we have seen enough where the Ministry of Works couldn't get things done. We have seen enough where various ministries could not get some things done. There's poor response, when you try to resolve an issue with, with communication, to get anything done with this government. Well, don't talk about the Ministry of Public Utilities and that minister. We have seen the worst chaos, with the water supply, with electricity, and you name it, all the different services. We are seeing chaos upon chaos and outages.
Well,
So
I'll go
if you can
further.
give us a little more
Well, let's
enlightenment
well,
on that.
well, let's go even further. When we saw with national security, where MP Saddam Hussein had asked the Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, to account for the issue of the CCTV cameras, and he couldn't answer. All he keeps saying, well, the allocation is there, but how much you buy, where you buy it from, who you get it from, China, where you get it from, Japan, where you get it from, Tantimul shop down the road, where you got it, and he could not have answered. And that is the beauty of the standing finance, is that the minister has to, and if he cannot answer, he must provide the information even in writing, because he can't provide the information. Because the fact that the minister couldn't answer, the next minister next to him, well, God help you, he couldn't answer, right? The permanent secretary next to him, who is the accounting officer under our system of how the public service works, couldn't even answer neither. So the money was spent, where it went, couldn't answer. You saw also with agriculture, the Minister of Agriculture could not have answered concerning the issues of for positions that were not filled. And when you asked, was the positions advertised? He couldn't answer, right? So the Standing Finance Committee is one of the number one committees we have where the opposition can hold the government to account. The other committee that we have of the parliament that allows that is the Public Accounts Committee, which is chaired by a member of the opposition who is actually the chair. The chair of that committee is in fact MP Tanko. So it was excellent. And you also saw with local government where MP Khadija Amin was able to show the, how to put it, the unfairness in allocations, if that is the correct terminology to use. Because you're seeing where Point Fortin Borough Corporation, Sangre Valley, is twice the size of Point Fortin Corporation. Believe it or not, right? But their allocation is less to that of Point Fortin. Chaguanas Borough, one of the most bustling, growing boroughs, right? The allocation was not very great neither. But Port Elizabeth City Corporation, which is such a corporation that it doesn't do much work in the city. Look at how much they got. A new borough which was created, which is Diego Martin Borough Corporation. And they are not a large borough, and they got more than Kuva Tabakit. And Kuva Tabakit is one of the most densely populated corporations that we have, right? But this is why, because of the discrimination, because these corporations are controlled by the United National Congress, that they are treated unfairly. So that is why the Standing Finance Committee is important. But I commend all the opposition MPs for how they were able to drill down. They were able to get answers. They were able to get this government to account of the people's money. And was able to show that the government did nothing for this nation. That's why this budget was laugh, cry, mama guy, and lie. Because if you laugh, you had to cry.
A lot of mama guy, you could see that. My issue is I see a lot of money spent. I don't see it's not adding up. Like how you guys said, the math's not mathsing. We
Yeah.
don't see the service. We don't see the service delivery. We have seen
Again,
more chaos with this government from the time they took office, and it has only gotten worse. Now we're seeing where police
mhm.
supposedly is kidnapping people,
Well,
right?
well,
Or people in police uniform, and how they get police uniform is another thing, you know.
but
But I
Gary,
think
let me tell
go
you
ahead.
this. Let's talk about the police. As a practicing attorney at law, the TTPS, as far as I'm concerned, it's continuing collapse. It's collapsing. Just Wednesday, I had to make a police call of an incident around my area. There was a shooting 2 houses down from where I live. I'm home here now. And when you call the police, the answer you get, yeah, we get a report already, you know. Okay. Uh, could you all send a vehicle? Neighbors are a little hysterical. Neighbors are a little frightened. Because I have like what is called we have a little community group now. And your officer tell me, well, boss, we have one car out, and that on an important call. Well, I don't know what important call that was. But yet they said they're going to have a new fleet of vehicles. Where them vehicles going? Gary, your guess, my guess, everybody guess there tonight is better than. I don't know where it's going.
But
And
I've
then
seen so many vehicles. I've seen some pictures of so many vehicles in the junkyard, and knowing, I mean, okay, so we have some expense in getting the vehicle. Why it is being that we have so many skilled people in Trinidad and Tobago, can I get some of those vehicles repaired and up and running? You know, for me, I see a clear lack of accountability with management and supervision of the police force and the maintenance of
yes,
the vehicles.
there is a lack of accountability. But it's more than that. It is more than that. It is because you have a government who lacks the will, it lacks the care to get the job done. Right? And let's focus on again my field is law. Right? We have a judicial system that is in need of real reform. That's why I echo the sentiments of the opposition leader and soon to be Prime Minister Kamala Prasad in the Senior Council. There is a need for a justice ministry. There is a need. COVID has been gone for how long now? More than 4 years now. We're still doing virtual court. Why? I have no idea. Yet we have court buildings. What are they using for them now? I don't know. Open back the court. Further to that, we need to have more courts to be focused on certain matters. We need to have a proper gun court. We need to have a proper drug court. We need to have murder in its true classifications, as in the form of murder in the form of first degree, second degree, third degree. We need to have that. We need to also, my friend, we need more judges. We have a lot of judges who retire and you're bringing them back out. We have magistrates who retire and you're bringing them back out. And when you sometimes see the magistrates are using, they put them to do charge case. To do what? Just to hear bail? Or if you make them a master, just to hear bail? So there's no progress in our judicial system. We have young persons who would like to become magistrates, would love to become masters, judges, registrars. But no, we're not doing that. And further to that, we have where police are not coming to court. Police are not coming to court. Let me say that third time. Police are not coming to court. And when they come, they act like, so what? No file. Nothing happening. And there's no progress.
But
I
that
know.
again falls where that falls on the supervision and management of the TTPS, because these guys
Well,
there has been a culture of doing what you want.
I'm going to jump back there now. Because we had a former commissioner of police who used to say if any police are given problems and things, let him know. We have a commissioner of police now. I don't know how do we get in contact with her. Do we need to go in a church? Because she's more of a church woman than a police woman. Because everything for she is God. Put it in God. It's in God's hands. But God already saying, well, Lord, help all you too. And it's becoming ridiculous. I have to say it's so ridiculous. So that this nation can hear what nonsense is going on under this current administration. And we have a
Some
government
people are
who,
so lazy that they just kind of just pass the buck to somebody else. Now they want to say they're waiting on God, but God will quicker support the man that get up there and go out there to try to do something than the person who's sitting there waiting.
well, my friend, under the biblical teachings, it says, God help those who help themselves. Right? I mean, look at how we have a system here that is getting ridiculous. Do we not remember where we had a matter where a whole case file went missing from the Attorney General's office? Do we not remember that? And poof, Mumford the magician appeared and the file appeared. So where was all them? That caused the whole case to fall apart. And those men, and those, as you know, the lawyer had to do a freedom of information request to get a report to be made public. Because we can't see the report yet. Why? I don't know. And it's our taxpayers' money paid for that report to be done. So why I know I am hitting to every other point is to show that the what has passed for governance under this current administration could never pass for governance. A kindergarten could operate better than the Rowley government. And I mean,
The level of disrespect is horrendous. It is so ridiculous to see what's happening in that the prime minister can get up on a pulpit and use certain languages, and then we hear the context of the language within the parliament that they were so comfortable to do. But
but Gary,
let's focus. Yeah.
it reflects their leadership. It reflects their leadership. I'll give you an example. We are on the cusp of Diwali. We're on the cusp of Diwali. And I want to commend my opposition MPs who look so splendid in their traditional wear. And not a member of the government, from what I saw on the Parliament channel, I don't know if anybody else, but not a member of this sitting government had the respect to show to the Hindu community to not wear its traditional wear. I found that very disrespectful. And I must say, I want to commend that the UNC leads the way. That we are truly a party that is a national party. We've showed that we are part of a cosmopolitan nation. So I just thought I would put that there as well, because look at what is passing. The crime rate has now crossed the murder rate has now crossed 500. All right. The murder rate has crossed. I apologize again. The murder rate has crossed 500. And you are telling me Fitzgerald Hines is still the Minister of National Security? Well, worse yet, he said it's the public to blame. How in God's green earth are the citizens as myself? So I am to blame? I am a law-abiding citizen. I'm sure your listeners there would agree with me. How could you blame the public? How could you? That is like blaming a woman who is being beaten by her husband by saying, well, it's your fault. It's your fault you get licks. When she has done nothing and she's a victim. And that man is still the Minister of National Security. I will say this, sir. This PNM has to be the worst PNM it ever had. Well, I will never support them. Had Patrick Manning been Prime Minister of this country, and that man was a minister under Patrick Manning, he done gone. If he was in Kamala Prasad-Bissa's government, and he said that, he done gone. Eric Williams would have fired here already. You said the nation? That means he's blaming Dr. Vera. You know what he's blaming? Trinity the Bone. You know what he's blaming? Everybody else, but it's not himself. He needs to go. He needs to be fired, for God's sake, Dr. Rowley. Really? I want to be corrected.
But to see Porter Spence South came on board, making all this big hoorah. I mean, it seemed the situation got worse because now we're seeing the police kidnapping supposedly people.
Well, again, you know, and the commissioner of police, all they could say in a press conference is, we want the nation to still have, confidence in us. We saw a man in Maruga who was held up by people playing as police. So if a police officer comes in front of my gate now, I don't know if there's police or not. So I mean, as a trained attorney at law, I know what to ask for. But the normal man on the Clapham bus, the man who needs taxi, the man who gone in KFC to line up, how does he know what to ask for? And these persons have been made examples of. This is where the commissioner of police, and Gary, you're in security services. She is supposed to jump out in the front, get rid of them from the police.
But just imagine you going down a lonely road, and you get pulled over by these people. You're not sure to stop because you have to think twice now. You have to think twice.
And if it is legitimately officers of the Transnational Police Service, but you're so frightened, and you decide to run. Next thing you get.
Yeah, you get shot.
Yeah, you get shot. Right? And that is where we have reached as a country. Is that what we must face? No. That is why I keep saying we have a commissioner of police who really and truly, she didn't deserve that job. With all due respect to her, ma'am, I think she's better suited in front of a pulpit, in a church. Because everything is, let us pray. Well, let us pray. Let us pray. They had a deputy commissioner of police who made some disgusting remarks about how the nation must take responsibility as well. But thank God they movie one time. But they can movie, but they can't move. I mean, come on. I will never accept that I am the reason why the murder rate is 500 and plus. I sure before we finish this interview, the murder rate gone up again. But you have a government who does not have the will. And as I am saying to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that when that day comes, this government said, you is the reason why. And you must now show them that they must get the X out and vote them out and bring in a government that cared for your safety. And that government was the United National Congress, led by Kamala Prasad, the CESA Senior Counsel.
Trini, Arjun, Dr. Vera, if you have any questions, you can feel free to jump in, please.
Good night, gentlemen. Very good presentation thus far and discussion. Now, Brian, I want to bring a topic on to the discussion. According to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, obscene language is a criminal offense, correct? Is an offense.
It's correct? A summary of, yes. Under the summary offenses act, yes.
Right. If I went in front of the parliament in the road and I uttered what one of the acting prime ministers of our country, if I said that in the road, the police would arrest me and they would charge me, correct?
Well, you will get more than a arrest charge. You might get some hand too.
Well, why is it that a government official, a PNM government official, is able to make it, whether he made it in jest, in joke, or whatever, it is still an offense, correct?
It is still an offense, but not only that, it was offensive, right? And we must understand the Parliament. While you are subject to parliamentary privilege, you're also still subject to the laws of the land.
Correct.
And this is why I would have at least thought when that had happened, right? That now again the seats will be, as you said, there was a seats where the deputy was Speaker, this is where the marshal of the parliament should have been brought in, right? Again, I'm open to be corrected. I have only sat in the parliament as a temporary senator.
Yeah,
So
but
they
this
may
is
be.
after the fact. We have documented evidence where we have video, we have audio. So the felony exists and can be prosecuted. Why isn't it being prosecuted now? It already happened.
Well, that's a question that that can't be answered by TTPS. Again, yes, there are officers within the parliament. There and those officers take the instructions of from the speaker through the marshal. Again, I'm open to be corrected by that. But it shows again the hypocrisy. So what if someone on the other side had said it, had said those words?
Well, exactly. If Anil Roberts had said that, or David Nakid had said that, or Wade Mark had said that, there would have been
Or
total uproar. This would have been
no, but
excluded from Parliament altogether.
no, but what if Ravi Rati Ram had said? What if um, Tanku had said that? What if Vandana, wait, the MP Vandana had said?
Well,
What?
that comes back to the other issue too about the apparel, the what's appropriate and what's not appropriate in Parliament.
Well,
Um,
I'm not going to get into that. Very actually, that when the speaker was bringing her greetings for Diwali to make certain comments about that and all. She has not watched the Parliament of India. She has not watched the Parliament of Indonesia. Clearly, she has not watched the Parliament of
But it was
Malaysia.
the season, time of the season. She was dressed according to the season that we in, basically. And you were given a Diwali,
no,
you know, uh, go ahead.
i-
But when
whether
the
it's the season or not the season, if she is familiar with what is traditional Indian wear, if you go back in history and look at what Indira
but,
Gandhi used to
but
put
hold
on as
on,
the prime minister
right,
in India, it's the
right.
same type of attire.
Indira Gandhi came to our shores and came to our parliament as well. But what I'm saying with that, and I'm not going to discuss the dress wear. I am going to discuss the fact that not a member of the government side did
No,
not
no,
even choose to
no, well,
wear.
I'm not even going to go there. I'm not interested. If you that what you wear is your choice. If you do not belong to that culture and you don't want to wear what to represent that culture, I would hold that against anyone.
But my friend, don't lose any brain cells with that. Don't lose your pressure on that. Because clearly, if people know, as I said, if they looked at the of Malaysia, they look at Sri Lanka, India, Taiwan. So let us all remember in New Zealand. You know, in New Zealand, they have one of the youngest members of parliament, right? A young girl. You all saw what she did in the parliament? In New Zealand, the traditional tribal person was speaking something called haka, right? And she gave a haka chant in the parliament. Why didn't stop she? Because they know for a fact not to do that. So, boy, let me tell you something. That that was such a non-issue because I can tell you that that everybody there dressed properly. So, my friend, that is a statement to make, and let's forget it. The main
Well,
thing we need to talk about is the lack of proper governance, and let's keep to that.
Yeah, we're seeing the chaos also among the school system. I mean, you're seeing gunshots in the papers today again, by one of our schools. The Minister of Education seems to be clueless about the gang situation that has developed in the school system there. I don't understand what is so complicated with installing the police within the school system.
well,
I've said many times that you cannot have the police come in. Police has to be there.
it's not clueless, you know. It's not clueless. Christmas List came into the country as a foreigner, and he was able to gain access to all the gang areas, film them, put it on YouTube live, and so on. The AG at the time when he was in the Parliament for the bail amendment bill and bail legislation and gang legislation and so on, he clearly told the parliament and the population that he knows the 200 and 2,500 gangs, their gang members, and where they live, and he needs this legislation in order to go after the criminals. However, he got all the support from the opposition and so on, from the independents and so on, and he got all those legislation passed, and
You
not
see,
a single person has been arrested thus far.
my
Christmas
friend,
came
we
into
must
the and
why
identified
why
where these people are.
they do not want to admit that they have control of our security, which even now applies to our schools. That minister wants to tell me and in Asia it have no gangs in schools. Madam, I practice in the courts. I practice in under the criminal bar. You really want to say that? You really want me to respond to you? Because I can tell her, hogwash. Hogwash. We have a children's court. She should visit and see who comes before the children's court. She should see who's at YTC, who makes up YTC, who don't know. So hogwash to her. Hogwash. To say there's no gangs in our schools.
But if you just look at the some of the videos that are shown on Facebook and other social media, you can see gang behavior. You see one person being attacked by many, and that
But
is typical gang behavior.
confidentiality. I represent some of them. So and again, it shows that you have a government that is so out of it, so out of reach, so out of touch, that if you know that is in our system, you should be the first person as the Minister of National Security to say, I will deal with it. You meet your
Yeah,
Minister
but
of
we
National
didn't reach there overnight. We didn't reach there overnight. This is a culture developed under the PNM because they ruled the country for most of our independence,
Security.
and the little short term that we had, we could not fix much.
Yeah, but Gary, there's a there's a way you could deal. But you see, there's not like somebody to tell them what to do because they think they know everything. So what should have happened is immediately the two ministers of education with their team should have met with the two ministers of national security and their team and find a and find a solution, right? And there's also they could have brought in the family planning association. They could have brought in the parent teachers association. They could have brought in all other kind of organizations to, to deal with that. But no, you know what? No, this is PNM style of governance. No, we don't have that. What are you talking about? Like this. That's why I said hogwash. And I don't quite say it. It's
Gary and Brian and everyone present, good night. If I can just jump in here, the audio is going a little bad, Gary. I don't know if you guys hearing me.
yeah, we're hearing
Okay,
you.
feel free to jump in. Maybe Son Brian's in. I don't know. But can you go ahead with your question if you have anything else to say, Maria?
I just wanted to maybe Brian could shed some light on this, but I remember attending a pre-budget consultation the Friday before the budget statement was presented, and there were a couple persons from the university, and they raised a really important point with respect to crime, that of organized transnational crime, and alluding to such countries as Mexico and Colombia. And, to what extent would you say, those other countries have infiltrated our Trinidad and Tobago? And hence, what do you predict and see for the future in terms of this gang culture? I don't know if Brian would like to, shed some light on that.
Well, that's a very important question you've asked. We must understand that this government got rid of the speedboat vessels that the People's Partnership would have gotten, and that would have kept our borders secure. In fact, I think it's the gammon boats. They're all chained down in Shagaramas, collecting rust.
Damien vessels, 6 Damien vessels there.
Yes, the
But
diamond.
my thing, my problem, the main issue with them, they come in the parliament and gallivanting about this legislation and that legislation, and you have the majority of our boats sit in dock, rotten. You leave the border wide open for anybody to bring anything through the border.
Yes.
Guns, drugs,
Yeah.
trafficking. Our people are missing from our country. Prostitution, exchange of uh, prostitution, or from between the servicemen in the country. There's an
Exactly.
exchange of that. All right,
So,
with police officers and certain individuals involved. Right.
not that. You remember we had a Marine Force with TTPS. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to that, right? But Vera, because of the fact that this government has refused to properly secure our borders, that is why the transatlantic drug trade and gun trade, and now we can even say the transatlantic human trafficking trade has been happening in our country, right?
Yeah.
And
And it has left a huge segment of our population so disillusioned. I mean,
this,
many of the, on one of the news stations, they often interview the public, and you pick up, that degree of frustration and disillusionment. I mean, I was speaking with somebody from on my street. This She's a seamstress, and within the span of like 3 days, she had to attend like three different funerals of persons who were killed from Matura to the Kirap area. And
but
I
I
mean,
also
yeah.
I legally represent the Latin Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and we have had to assist a lot of these Venezuelans when they came, and not only Venezuelans. People think that there's only Venezuelans here. It's not only Venezuelans. We have persons from Cuba here. We have persons from Colombia. We have persons from Dominican Republic who are here, and we have been helping them. I've had to represent a few, and because of this government not properly doing what they need to do. You see that big fuss that you saw when Stuart Chung was Minister of National Security, when it was out by the Oval and he had the bullhorn and
Yes.
talking to people, right?
Yeah.
That was a fuss. Because a lot of those same persons who were there were not able to get properly checked. They didn't get proper documents. So when they come, as I said, they have what is called the National Security letter, the letter of the minister. That can stand up in court. The person in my will tell you or the judge, what that letter to do with me? So there was no proper checks and balances with that neither. Thankfully, the association, the association was able to even try and help more. So we need, and the UNC has a plan and will initiate that plan when we form the next government to secure borders by getting those same vessels that they went and they locked down with their vindictive ways of this government. That's basically it, vindictive
Yes,
behavior.
I think
Get
we
them.
have seen that definitely, and I think Gary, or it could have been you. You were speaking about the schools. I mean, even the basic infrastructure. We know that that is one of the strengths of the UNC government in building over 100 schools, and the we juxtapose that against such dilapidated infrastructure. So on one hand, you have new, almost completed schools that were abandoned against 100 plus year old schools. So I have to conclude that you are right about the vindictiveness and the short-sightedness, I would say, because I mean the broader goal is that of educating our population, because we know many of them are falling astray. I think we have pretty high dropout rate. I think it's almost like 2,000 students per annum, I believe it is.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't have the figure for that.
Yeah.
But one thing I will discuss, which is a burning issue for me and Gary, I hope that you can um, indulge me, is our forensic center. Our forensic center, I think, it has gone beyond Stone Age. It is the worst. Our forensic center has to do everything from checking dead bodies to having to check specimens. And you just have to wait and wait and wait. I saw the allocation for it. They allocate all the time, money said, and the forensic center is still the same. What we should have is another forensic center. We should have at least two, or at least three. Two in town and two in north. I not talk. Two in the north and at least one in the south. Right? I've been waiting for. I am still.
We need to put one in central too. But
Well, yeah,
one of the things I'm looking for us to do is to decentralize things.
yeah.
The decentralization will also help with quite a bit of things, for traffic and and time and everything else, that unnecessary stress. But it's something I've been discussing with our leader. But
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
it,
And I think if I could just jump in here quickly, I think the only ministry that has been, situated outside of Port of Spain is agriculture. That's all.
That's because we build the building.
And yes.
That's why we.
Yes, correct. So decentralization, but this is where it starts in terms of, physical infrastructure, because we haven't fully embraced technology and digitalization. So
But
here's where
right.
Let
But
me
we,
here, Brian. Under the
the
PP,
government.
didn't they start a forensic center in Carlson Field somewhere? Wasn't
I,
a forensic center started? I seem to remember something like
I
that.
can't recall, but you could be correct. But nonetheless, Gary, I will give you an example, and I will go back to the next point of what Fira just said. Is that I will never forget when I now started and practicing law. I had a matter. A gentleman was charged with the matter is fully finished now. He was charged with possession of a firearm for days upon days, months upon months, been waiting for the specimen to be analyzed, to be checked. Lo and behold, the real owner of the gun went and take it. Gone missing. Eventually, the matter had to be thrown out for lack of evidence. Now, some may say, who got justice there? But the justice is, it was given to the man who was brought before the court. Because he who alleges must prove, and must prove beyond a reasonable doubt. You understand? And then what Vera is saying is that we have a government where they came and they met a proper system put in place by the People's Partnership, where they started to decentralize. Yes, agriculture was one. Not only in that, in education, there was decentralization as well, where many offices of the Ministry of Education was beginning to go to other places in the country. And then, Gary, if I may, even though I am a lawyer, and I know things on law, I'll talk about judiciary and crime and all of that, but I'm a citizen of this country. And I have seen where this government has refused to use what is there for our nation to succeed.
yeah.
We have a National Aquatic Center. It is underutilized. We have a National Cycling Center. Underutilized. In fact, people use it to play all fours and roulette machines. And then people want to know, well, why we did so poorly in the Olympics. In fact, we have a national stadium. It's constantly not being used. It's underutilized. We have the Atobola Stadium underutilized. And
I heard about the indoor stadium that was built in Sandy Grande that they wouldn't let the people use at all.
Center, you're correct. But because again of PNM vindictiveness. And then I know God. Let's not forget the Cuba Children's Hospital. That the only time that hospital got any form of use was for COVID. It took a pandemic to open the hospital. And then further, it went from a COVID hospital to dengue.
Mm-hmm.
And now dengue disappeared now. And what happened? The hospital remained as it is. I remember there was a protest, part of that protest, where we called for the opening of the bloody hospital, and I saying it like that.
Yeah, out of spite, but what I'm looking for, Brian, with our government, is that we work harder on preventative strategies and putting the resources in place to prevent crime, to intercept crime, more than on the reactive end. When, like, I have a saying, and I reiterated many times on social media, that justice do not resurrect the dead. I'm a security person. My job is to prevent asset
Yeah.
protection, prevent damages, prevent people from getting killed, people from getting robbed. My job. So, I have a different perspective of things more than, the police comes when after the fact. I don't
Well,
need that. I
well,
need I need the preventative to be worked on harder.
but Gary, you have to remember, when the People's Partnership was in office, there were a lot of programs put in to ensure that crime will be lessened. You remember we had the Citizen Comfort Patrol, right? We also had where a lot of social programs was brought
And there
in.
could be never enough of patrol. The more the merrier. That is what you do. You try to
Yeah,
intercept, prevent.
of course. And then not only that, if you will remember, there were a lot of programs bringing for youth development. They can say what they want about life sport. Life sport worked. Life sport helped our young people. So when I was chairman of Seafood Board, I created 14 new seafood farmers. We got Nedco involved. We got the ADB involved. We got the World Bank involved. We got the IDB involved. And you know what happened? We had a young guy from Mayaro. He said it's the first time in his life he was able to create his own farm, buy his own vehicle. That is how you stop crime.
I think
That
that's a very relevant and crucial point, Brian, because I'll tell you that come next weekend, over a 3-day period, we have over 3,000 graduates who will be participating in that ceremony and, entering the job market. And I know their key concern is what jobs exist for them.
well,
You know,
Vera, let me
yeah,
have a one time with you. Vera, do you know we have young doctors in this country pumping gas? Do you know that?
horrendous.
We
Yes.
have young doctors pumping gas. We have many young lawyers who are coming out, unless they get a chambers to working with a senior, that sometimes they have to try and apply to the government and they don't get in. You know what they end up doing? Finding remedial work. I had to actually work to bring a young lawyer and tell them, here what going on, partner. I will help you. I had to give him matters and sit down with him, let we do it together. We have and Conupia, there was evidence of it in the media of a young doctor pumping gas in Conupia.
Yeah, I guess that's the level of frustration. I mean, imagine being a doctor and, having to undergo 5 years of your MBBS and, I mean, you might as well forego it. And this will take us into the whole issue of the relevancy of education and that linkage between education and employment. Yes, Gary. So maybe in our next session, we could perhaps look at what initiatives in the budget um, are relevant to our entrepreneurs. Yes?
So, Gary, you are correct. Yes, there was a forensic center that was looking to be built in Central. It's like around 2013, 2014. Yes, you are quite correct. I thank Kumar for that information. As I people, if I don't know it, send the information. I mean, but
Number
so
one, I'm
let
saying to you, I would like to see we work harder on decentralization because we have structured things to make things more difficult for people.
yeah.
You have to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and go to Port of Spain, and you have to deal with all the hassle with the traffic and unnecessary, and we are creating unnecessary issues within the city. Number one,
Well, my
it's a waste. It's a lot of things to be creating bad. So the best thing for us to do, and what I deeply want to see, is the decentralization of government businesses or ministries, decentralization of offices, and and a lot of these things that the people need immediately, to decentralize
one
these things.
is in office. There will be no decentralization because this is what everybody coming on. The UNC and the People's Partnership was doing it. As I said, agriculture was one. We had it with the Ministry of Energy. We also had it with education. With the Ministry of Education, as you remember, there was Ministry of Education and then there was the Ministry of Technical. which Mr. Rupert Griffith was the minister, is escaping me now, but he was the minister.
Yeah,
And
it would
he
have been
had
science, technology, and
that,
tertiary education.
and
Yeah.
he had satellite officers around the country, so persons could have gone there, right? National security was also being broken up, right? But this is the way again PNM operates, my friend. And we must get rid of this PNM Rowley led government. We must. With Patrick Manning, it was the waterfront. Everything was waterfront. And the country got rid of him. And one of the best governments, if not the best prime minister in this country, I think was the best prime minister we ever had. And that's why I keep telling this country, Kamala Prasad Bissessa is needed. Kamala Prasad Bissessa has a love for governing this country. She has a love for people. She has a love for children. When last year anything about children's life fund with this government? When last year any child received any saving surgeries with the children's
Right?
life?
This government destroyed every resource that was put in place to help the people that voted against the PPG and Kamala government. The things they
Well,
voted against themselves,
well, my
all
friend,
the resource.
I come in the
Correct.
gear. I come in the gear one. Cancer treatment. I could talk on this of personal feelings now. I have a family member who has stage 4 cancer. St. James, where you have to go down to deal with cancer. It's shut down for 2 weeks now. They have to go. We had an oncology center that was being built, and Mr. Terence Dial Singh, you're an abject failure. When you could have put it right back there in Mount Hope, it's centrally based. We had if you can't go St. James, you gotta run up to go Grandy. Where's the brain? Where's the brain? Understanding that oncology center in Mount Hope was is still far needed. But you want to study a bearer that went so-called stolen. And that, you know what happened? Gary, I can say what happened, you know? Right down the road from where I live in. And here's the funny thing, Gary, and I'll talk about that so-called robbery. Right? I'll talk about that. That bar is Nayabingi bar. It has a big police camera right by it. And you notice something, Gary? Tell me, I'm open to be corrected by any one of you all. When we have been seeing crime happening, we're seeing CCTV camera footage, we're seeing camera footage in the place, in people's businesses with the robberies happening. How we see no camera footage of Mr. Dial Singh getting robbed? And there's a camera right there. Right there, you know? It's right above that bar, right above it. Probably cameras are working or something. I know it's funny.
Either that. But the thing that got me with him, he now come to realize he talking about getting robbed in broad daylight in front of everybody, where he was all the time.
You know,
When the UNC comes in Parliament and talk about the effects of crime, and they try to shoot it down and talking blaming the UNC about this legislation and that legislation, and you fail to properly manage the police force, with the exception of Gary Griffith, who was trying very hard and got a lot done. Every one of these guys there were the worst ever to run the police force.
And Gary,
Okay, the police force rot under them.
Gary, you know what's the funniest thing about that? I would tell you what's the funniest thing about that. Right? There's a bar right next door. And people be sitting down right there. So them bandits, the so-called bandits, so brave to come up, take your bearer, they ain't take your phone, they ain't take your money, they ain't do like what they would normally do, hit you two slap in your face, hit you two close in the back of your head. You understand what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, I get to your head in that.
what is that? Here's the next funny thing about it. Right in the bend of where that bar is the biggest pothole. The biggest pothole. And that MP, he's the MP of St. Joseph. Had the gall, the nerve to sit down by that bar. But it's not a bingy, it's a PNM bar. I could say it's a PNM bar. He had the gall. He had the gall to still sit down there with a big hole on the side where every car passing, the wheel must go in that hole. Must, eh? It must go in that hole. And that is what you saw as a MP/minister looking to be relevant. Because you was getting pong for the NICU deaths, pong for COVID, pong for dengue. So he comes and says, "No, God, I get robbed." You notice no one felt sympathy for him? Because you know why? I got this house I live in. I had a home invasion here. So you know why I did? Because the police officer moved so quick to find this fella and then got released. I called St. Joseph Station to ask, hey, you're so fast, so they went to find the man who robbed the house. Who going on with the man who come in my house? I was present in my house when a man came in here and stole items from my home. I am a victim of crime myself. I don't feel comfortable in this house all the time. Because I can always just a man can enter my house again. I have paid heavy sums of money to protect my home now. Where my home is protected 24/7. In case they try and again. But nonetheless, and he said, well, this is where crime has reached now. No, boss. It is not reaching there now. It there way before. Right? It was there before. And before you, and before them. And now you want, and then he on his phone. Who he talking to? Nobody knows.
Brian, if I could interject, and you mentioned it as well as Gary, all of this boils back down to that key point of accountability. And we know that ministers are responsible for their ministries. And yes, the PS are the accounting officer. But I think it's high time that ministers themselves do a strategic plan and account for their role as a minister. Because as a minister, they are supposed to oversee and guide. Yes? Have that vision and strategic
But
plan.
that's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of having somebody here. And you hire a manager.
But if you're I can
Hines doesn't realize that. So hence the reason why he would say he's not responsible for crime and it's the people to blame. He clearly has not been, he doesn't understand.
Now you know what right?
What's
now
that?
you know he would never be a minister under Patrick Manning. Right? Put it to that.
Yeah.
Yes, the minister would have his oversight, he would have his plans, but it was also remember that we do have a public administrative system, right? But further to that, right? When you have a government, a government who doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, that's it. It goes back to, what is their vision for our country? They should be able to break down that on a yearly basis and share it with the population. If we want to improve our detection rate, let's just take that example.
If you've ever, I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of working within the government system, right?
Yes, I have for over 2 decades.
Right. I worked in many ministries. My mother was a public servant for 40 something years, right? And she's
people. I could not last for more than the period I stayed. It had gotten unbearable. If I don't know how public servants function.
Well, my dear, you have to understand when you have a government.
We will do a session on that, Vera.
Yeah, because you know what happens? They are basically passing time on the job. I mean, I know there are very hardworking ones as well. So normal curve would apply, right? And that whole issue. I was actually doing some research because we have a mentorship program at the university, and I was looking at that whole topic of productivity. Yes, we're speaking about budget and billions being spent, but what value are we as taxpayers getting for money?
What value for the money? Exactly.
Yes, so I think that is like the most critical point. Yeah.
Before I became a lawyer, I worked in the public service. Right? I understand the service very well. Right? But you must also understand if this public service is leaderless, then the service will go nowhere, right? But if you have this public service with a government that is driven with having success, then the public service will be driven as such.
Yeah.
As I
So it really goes back to leadership. The prime minister, who is head of cabinet, and really should be overseeing all ministries.
but
And you see them
when you have
shirking that
a prime minister
responsibility
who only
repeatedly.
play golf, when you have a prime minister who hardly here, where Rowley now? Where Rowley was with the entire budget debate? He only came in when he had to talk. Did he wait for your standing finance? Was he there? Nope, wasn't there.
And
Right, but it's,
I recall looking at there. I think it would have been a there was a session or was a post budget consultation with one of the chambers of commerce, and that question of contract employment and increasing those numbers. That question was asked. What's happening with the the traditional workers establishment, they call them,
yeah.
versus contract workers. And he said, well, there's a minister who will speak to that issue. So the point I want to make is that there does not seem to be a degree of collaboration between the ministries. And as
But,
Minister of Finance,
uh,
you would expect him to have some solutions. Yeah.
right, but Mira, you can't really get solutions from even this Minister of Finance when his main thing to solve any problem is tax you, tax you, tax, right?
Correct.
And let's not forget, we have a Minister of Public Utilities who had to talk about, well, the water that flow through the pipe. Well, really, I didn't know that.
And
This is
that's why I would say I am so much against the property tax, because I feel like we are already paying so many taxes and so much of that money is wasted. Yeah, and we haven't even touched on the issue of corruption.
but
Well, the thing about it, first of all, they're talking about the United States doing this, and then let's do that in the United States and do that and that. But there is a municipal government structure in place, and
Right.
the property tax goes straight to the municipal government, and the municipal government pays for the education, the police, the roadworks, and things like that out of that money that is being taxed,
but
right?
Gary, let me tell you something. I had the pleasure of
Different
working.
structure.
I had the pleasure of working in local government when the whole first idea of property tax was coming out under Patrick Augustus Mervyn Manning in 2007, my friend. When they were doing it through the regional corporation, they hired workers to go out into the public. I was working at Saval Avenue Regional Corporation. There were still people, I wasn't always a lawyer, so there's no work done. And they hired workers to go out there to do what was called, they were doing surveys of how big the regions were, how many people was in a regional corporation, how big was Saval Avenue, how big was Diego Martin, how big was Cuba. And you want to know how I can talk about that? I was working in the vault. So when all them reports come in, you want to guess where they put it? In the vault. They take it, boom, stuck it and go there. Just to say they were doing something for property tax. Why didn't they say that everything is going to go, is going to put everything through the regional corporations? But you ain't put no system in place, Faris, so people can pay the regional corporations. You ain't do that. So what you do, make everybody run down to go to BIR offices and line up in the hot sun. And right where my law office is right where people lining up in the hot sun, rain falling,
Well,
poor
they treat
people.
our people just like as not as an independent citizen. They're treating you as a indentured or laborer or a slave. There's no respect,
But they treat you
and worse
right.
than that.
And when I see all of that, all I say is, all I wanted property tax, well, look, property tax come. Eh? Because when all of them line up, we on the
Brian,
ball.
Brian, if I could ask, I saw a newspaper report where Anand Ram Logan, he's trying to take, is it the TTRA matter to the Privy Council? There was some follow-up coming from his end. Do you recall?
Um, I do believe the matter went to the Privy Council, but
Right.
I will not pronounce if I'm not too certain. I can
Okay,
always,
but I know there is some development that is happening in that area.
but
So I'm not too
the
sure.
government did get the 'cause they did get the green light with the TTRA. I believe I can't check it now, but I don't think I don't think I don't think that the matter was successful at the Privy Council. I don't know. I'll have to check that. So I'm not going to pronounce on that just yet, right?
Okay, so something we could
But
follow up on. Yeah.
but nonetheless, right? We warned this nation that property tax was coming. We know that, and then the PNM say, hey, all you, don't get scared, don't get scared. People have property in Miami.
But the exorbitant amount that they come with there, and first of all, PNM don't have the moral authority to tax my parents on their house because we didn't
Yes.
get no government help. We
Well,
didn't
my
know what
friend,
that NHL loan was. My mom sacrificed
Correct.
and planned. All of we did that.
but
Yes.
Gary, worse than that. The legislation itself, and that's why the UNC did not support the legislation. The legislation itself is so poorly drafted. And I can talk about legislation drafting because I had a pleasure of doing that working under Anna and Ramlogan. Is that now, if you don't pay your tax, right, you're levied in the form of where they can make you pay more. And if you can't pay more, guess what? You forfeit. You
Yeah.
forfeit paying, you forfeit your home. Right? Well,
So what do you think happens in the United States when you can't pay your property tax? The
well,
municipal government takes your house.
yeah. But the in the US, this system is so much different. Right? In that when your property tax is being paid, you're seeing your road getting paved. When the property tax is being paid, you're seeing you're seeing a sidewalk being dealt with. When your tax is being paid, you are seeing the benefits for it. But what's the benefits we get here? You know the benefit you get with paying the property tax is more tax. That's the benefit.
Yes, and I think the leader raised a very important point about the minister's prerogative to increase that 2% it had gone down to, I believe. They can raise it, he can do that unilaterally.
And
Yeah.
not only
So I think that's a cause for concern.
if elderly persons are unable to pay,
Correct.
it's transferred. So while you into school, you're getting your degree, and you come out, mommy and daddy more sacrifice to pay for your education than studying property tax, right? Because at the end of the day, you want your children to succeed in life, and mommy and daddy goes back to their creator. That
And what I like the best is the minister is the supreme authority over the revenue authority, right?
Uh,
you
Gary, can I ask a question to Brian?
Go ahead. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So forgive me if I am asking something that's in the legislation that I'm not aware of, but
I
Brian
don't
could
know.
put some light on this. When I, as a taxpayer, go to the BIO office and pay my property tax, doesn't that money go straight into the consolidated fund? And if it goes into the consolidated fund, doesn't the regional corporation still have to wait for the Minister of Finance to release that funds to the regional corporation? First of all, calculate what was collected in which corporation and then allocate that money back to the regional corporation. Is that how it works?
Yes, I believe that's how it works. Yes.
Yeah, but if that is how it works, then what's the difference from what we have now? Because there's no
Nothing.
guarantee, depending on his cash flows, money we know is fungible. Depending on the cash flows of the minister, he is not obliged to release all of the funds to any one corporation. So what is different?
And that is why we keep saying that this tax was so not needed. That is why we keep saying that this tax is so abusive. This tax is so not needed, right? It is ridiculous.
But Brian, but the main selling point of the PNM for the property tax is that more resources will now become available to each of the local government bodies. That was their main selling point.
And
Correct.
you know what?
But if the mechanism is that the monies will still go into the consolidated fund, and as far as I'm aware, if I'm paying money to the BIR, it could only go one place, and that is into the consolidated fund.
And my friend, the country gets is mamagai.
Well, we've been hoodwinked if that is the case, and I hope I am wrong.
But that should be part of the local government structure. What happened to the local government reform, right? The municipal tax has to go to the municipal government. That's the normal structure. But
Well,
input wants power over
I don't
that.
know if I don't know if you guys recall in the past you would pay your land and building tax to the local government, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't you go down to the borough corporation to pay that tax?
Or you got the warden office, right? But not only
Yeah, but you see, if for that to make any sense at all, you have to pay that money directly in an account that goes to the corporation. If it is going to the Board of Inland Revenue, it defeats the purpose of the whole thing.
friend, that is
Correct.
why that property tax was bringing in. They talk about the issue of local government issues, but there was no system in place for personal population. So they never having to go back.
Well, the whole issue with having to go line up, and now with hindsight they're trying to prepare a mechanism for us to pay it online and so on. Clearly, after 9 years, they didn't think through this because they just didn't care. All they were caring about was punishing you to pay this tax. That was all they cared about.
Government wanted to do is tax you in oblivion, my. And there are more taxes to come. More
But
coming, you know.
I'm not sure if you all are aware, and this is based on, not on empiricals, but on, hearsay and so on. But it seems as though they are going into select areas with, the priority is select areas. Because I have friends living in some parts of Trinidad, and they told me we haven't even as much as gotten an assessment as yet.
That's true.
So I'm
A lot
wondering
of
if this is a strategic collection of taxes.
I won't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
But
Well,
Gary,
Some
I agree too.
but Gary, the area of your residence has not yet been assessed, but all of Lange Park has been.
and why you think?
Strategic collection. That's it. That's it. Go
And
where,
not only,
go where it's low hanging fruits. Go after the low hanging fruits.
but not only
so
that,
Brian, I understand that you had an appointment to go. You could spare a few minutes, or you got to go.
I could go to half night. I can go to half time.
Okay, go ahead.
So we also have to look at it when the so-called evaluations were being done. That the persons who were doing the evaluation was not even qualified, right? Which was shown up by MP Saramose. Two, we had where people were doing on the road evaluation. I don't know how you evaluate on the road. I don't know how you do it. Right? I don't know what they use. They use a telescope. What do they use?
They were saying that drone footage was,
Drones. They use drone footages.
Yes, I did hear that as well. And then
yeah.
worse yet, imagine a gentleman to my office because he wanted to bring a legal action of trespass against a person who called himself a examiner, right? To come and do these examinations, right? Evaluations, sorry. And the man was all over here, all over his place. And trespass is now a criminal act as well. I would look at debated that in his.
Yeah, but
I
Brian, if you complete the form that they give you to complete, one of the things that you have to sign to is authorization to come into every corner of your house and take pictures as well.
But
You are
then
actually giving the valuation division that authorization by letter.
my friend, we've had evaluations done of people properties when the people never even come in your house to evaluate.
Well,
Yeah.
those of us who did not complete the form who didn't sign up for the tax, and that's how I put it. Those who didn't sign up for the tax are being punished. And I have a situation here where I live next to my brother's house, and he completed the form and he got his valuation, and his house is bigger than mine and more, whatever. And his assessment came in at less than half of mine. So I am being punished for not cooperating with the valuation division.
Well, I hope you objected nonetheless, because in the law
I,
you
I
are
did, I did, but I told me I had to pay the tax before the 31st of October. I did.
Well, I'm going to add something to that. There, there is a block of condominiums in South Trinidad. They are identical in South Trinidad in a very developed area. And some people got valuations which are twice what the neighbors got. And these are identical condominiums in a gated community. And we are talking about some people with different names getting different valuations, almost half.
Yes. It's very arbitrary. It's very arbitrary.
So whether you're using a drone, a person, a human, or a robot, how did they arrive at these numbers?
well, I said why of the way we have.
Brian, you're breaking up plenty there now.
The system that they adopted is totally flawed. And as you're Ali speaking, correct?
Yeah. You have five. So
You're breaking up, Brian.
Brian, you're real breaking up there now.
oh God, the government must be supplying us. Are you hearing me better now?
Yeah.
A little
Right.
better.
You have 5 more minutes with me, Gary. I was wondering if possible I can give you my closing comments if possible.
Yeah, do that, and we'll reschedule for another day when you can come back to continue this conversation.
Well, I first of all want to say thank you very much for having me. My first time being on your show. I hope that I was able to answer questions if possible. I hope that I was able to edify you all tonight. I will close by saying that this budget that we just had is one of cry, lie, and mama. We have a government that truly cannot govern this nation. We have a prime minister that truly doesn't. We have a government that is blaming the nation. We have a government that needs to go. I am telling the people of Trinidad and Tobago, both local and foreign, for God's sake, for your sake, for your children and children's children's sake, when that general election is called, please, for God's sake, remove the people's national and return the best working government ever. Trinidad and Tobago, the United National Congress, led by the Honorable Kamala Prasad, Senior Council. I'm proud to be a member of my party. I'm proud to serve on the national executive, led by Kamala Prasad, and elected national executive by the membership, which got 20,000 votes and more. And those members got 20,000 plus votes and more than others. People, if you all don't do our country will go down much more. I hope I will. I hope I was. I hope I was
Thank
very.
you very much. Thank you very much, brother. And we will definitely continue this conversation and have you back as soon as you're available.
Sure.
We can continue the conversation, guys, if you want.
Okay.
Gary, sorry, I have to leave as well, so we'll catch up another time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Brian.
Thanks, guys. Good conversation, and let's keep doing this, and let's focus next time around in
Have a good-
discussion.
just-
We go forward.
Just leave.
Yeah, you could just leave. You could just leave. Thank you. So, Dr. Vieira, you have anything that you would like to add to the comments here tonight?
Well, what I'd like to say is that we're really in a dire state in Trinidad and Tobago at this point in time, and we really need some turnaround. People are hurting. It's really it's become like almost a daily tragedy to live in our country, because every couple hours, for many of us who are on all of these WhatsApp chats, every couple hours you're seeing some murder, some crime, violence, or some other blunder by this government. I have to attribute the failures to the government, because somebody has to be held accountable and is responsible. So I really trust, as Brian was saying, that we can really have a change in government to take us on, a positive trajectory come 2025. And Gary, I really want to thank you for opening up this space. It was a real pleasure being here tonight, and I look forward to continuing dialogue on all of these crucial issues that are facing our country at this point in time. Yeah, so
Definitely definitely want to thank you for taking the time to join us here tonight.
my pleasure.
Okay, Vera, thank you very much. I could tell you within the last hour and a half while we were speaking, there were 3 people injured from shooting, one dead.
Wow.
Yeah, and another person died in Karapichama too from
Yeah,
gunshot.
that's what I'm speaking about. It's traumatic. It really is.
And
Even for professionals who have to sit at a desk and work.
no,
You
but
know?
We have to keep on the forefront. We have to raise the issues, but we also have to show the people what kind of government they can have. And some,
Yes.
memory is very short.
Yes.
I saw the people vote against themselves, uh,
Yeah.
uh, causing all the to elect a government that took everything away from helping them build themselves.
Yes.
These are the resources to help you build your life, was taken away from you. And I hope that they vote sensible. But we have to raise these issues continuously. And I mean, Gary's more than willing, so anytime you have something to say, you have someone that has something to say, just give me a holler and I could create a link and we can go live. If something is happening around you, that an incident and you want to bring it to your attention, if you're outside Parliament and something is going on there, and if people are protesting or whatever it is, I'm willing to go live. So just let me know, and we
Sure.
will keep on the forefront of educating the people, bringing the information to them, and this is the objective here. So, Dr. Vera, I do deeply appreciate you taking the time to join us from all the hard work that you've been doing.
Yeah. Thanks to you and to all those who was able to join us.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye
All right,
bye.
guys. Good night. Thank you.